Our first question is from Emil. It's going to be a question, I'll take a little explanation, but let's go. I have a question about strength standards for professional athletes. I find your concept of quadrants truly amazing. The idea that strength standards, like training approaches, should be specific to the demands of an athlete sport makes perfect sense. How do we determine these standards for any given sport? I'm particularly interested in sports where the impact of a strength coach on performance is, as you describe, in easy strength, somewhat fuzzy. Okay. At what point can we tell an athlete your problem isn't in the weight room? Well, it's an easy question to answer, Emil. When your athlete is up to the standards you set in the weight room, the problem is no longer in the weight room. It's on the field, the pitch, the court, whatever you're going to do. Okay, the quadrants. Years ago, Pavel asked me the question, what's the job of the strength coach? And I said brilliantly, to coach strength, because that's a strength coach's job. But then he followed up and he said, what's the impact? And I was like, oh, well, the impact. And there's a guy online who once said he was going to beat me up if I ever said it depends again. I'm still waiting for him to beat me up, because here you go. It depends. But that's not a very good answer. So I put together this little quadrant, and the numbers are all askew because I kept flipping it and changing it. Somewhere in there in that closet, I have a yellow legal pad with thousands of pages of doodles and ideas. Basically, it comes down to this, that on this axis, the one that's going up, it's, the limits of human potential. I mean, maybe somebody's going to run faster in the 100 meters than 9.7. Okay. But boy, it's almost hard to believe that at this moment, unless there's a huge change in the way they make the tracks and track and field. I saw somebody, I watched it on YouTube, someone claimed to do a 1,000-pound deadlift, but they had straps on. But we'll just keep that as a 1,000-pound deadlift. I doubt we'll ever have a person who runs a 9.6 100 meters, then pulls a 1,000-pound deadlift, then runs a 1:59 marathon, okay? Those are the extremes of human abilities. And then on the other, at the bottom axis, the horizontal one, is the number of qualities that the sport or profession demands. So it's good to start with the deadlift and the 100 meters, because to me, that's quadrant 4. We're gonna go backwards for once. Quadrant 4 is when you only have really, one quality, absolute human speed, straight line. There's no hurdles in the 100 meters. There's no turn. It's straight line. Boom. In the deadlift, bar, straighten up with it. Boom. And in both, I'm simplifying it a lot, but, basically, you got to have to be a really fast person to run 9.6 from your DNA. You're going to have to be completely supported to run a straight line and do the things you have to do to run faster. One quality at the highest levels of human performance, that's Q4. So, let's stop there. And let's slide down to what I think is the most important quadrant, which is quadrant 3. As a discus thrower, you don't really need to be that strong. Tom Fahey told me that he had done the research, and to be an elite discus thrower, you have to snatch 250, clean 300, bench 400, squat 450. These are very easy numbers to attain, but that's one of the qualities. The other quality is have to have an extremely biomechanically efficient discus throwing technique. And there's probably a third quality between the ears, but let's just hold off on that. So if you're a college kid and you're benching 3 and you're, doing all the numbers here and you're not throwing far enough, quit looking for the answer in the weight room. And Emil, that's the most common response I get. In track and field, it is easy to find performance numbers. I used to just go to Track Technique magazine because there'd always be studies of elite finished throwers. And again, it's usually there's a real range there. With certain things, there's usually a range. You can kind of almost plug in an athlete, any sport now, and say, what's the range? So when I played high school football, I was 6 foot. as a tight end, and that was kind of a normal height for high school football players. When I work with these Division I football programs now, they're looking for 6'5" and 6'6" Division I tight ends. Now we're going to move over to football in just a moment, but the idea is that almost in every sport, you can go online, or you can go to old magazines like I have, or old or books, or you can just ask coaches, and they'll give you the parameters of what they're looking for in areas like height and weight and things like that. Now, there's always, people like Glenn Passey, the national champion from Utah State, who was 5'9", and I met him. He was 5'9", and when he won the national championship in the discus, he weighed 178 pounds. Of course, he was also in Air Force ROTC, so he's expected to do all those physical tests and everything. So, he's obviously he's an outlier, but the fact he still threw 190 weighing 178 pounds. So when you're in track and field, basically, you're in the quadrant 3. Most of the listeners, if you're in a sport, you're quadrant 3. I get those questions, Emil, sometimes, and I kind of make fun of them a little bit. I'm a father of 4. I have 2 full-time jobs. I'm always on the road, but I want to improve and they'll name some martial art. And I'm always like, well, first off, get some sleep. And, the second thing, we can talk about how to improve you. And usually the answer is just basic strength. Then there's where you have the highest levels of human skill, plus lots and lots and lots and lots of qualities to master. I put down collision occupations like special forces, tier 1 especially. I put American football in that, and I put rugby there. I spent a lot of time working with special forces in my career, and it's always fun. And when people ask me about them, I say the amazing thing about these guys is that they're B+ students in 100 different things. They might not be the best parachuter of all time, the best diver of all time, the best sniper of all time, the best whatever, but they're really good at 100 different things. It's fun hanging out with them. I know how to break into homes because of things they've told me. I know how to bypass security systems because of things they told me. I know how to really drive a car fast if I ever have to because of things they told me. And that's just some of the stuff that they know. It's amazing. I mean, just to understand American football and then be, at the position I played, I'd have to be taller and a lot faster than I ever was. And those are 2 hard things to fix. American football demands so many qualities at such a high level. When I'll get someone say something negative about my programming, and I always want to respond to the person that you're not strong enough to be a sophomore high school American football player. You're not strong enough to be a 14 or 15-year-old American football player. I used to have these numbers like, I'll give you pounds or kilos or both, but I expected a high school football player to be able to front squat 205, bench press 205, clean 205. Let's see, the clean and jerk 165, deadlift 315, back squat 255, which is low, but we expected deep back squats. And then there was a 1-arm bench press thing and some other things. And one year I sent the varsity football program 62 athletes who could do that. So to be the 62nd strongest kid on the team, you had to clean 205, front squat 205, and bench 205. That's just to make the varsity high school football program. So the numbers in special forces, SWAT teams, American football and rugby are, to quote Spaceballs, a ludicrous speed. And then on the final one, so that's quadrant 2. The other one is quadrant 1, and that I usually consider like a middle school or a high school PE class. You learn lots and lots of games and sports. The level's really low, and it's great to play disc golf in high school. It's a good skill to learn. You learn the skills of volleyball. You learn how to play dodgeball. You learn how to play basketball. But nobody's really that good. I always joke about I had to take high school PE because I was in sports. I only had to take it officially a little tiny bit. And I remember our basketball team won the league, and the joke is, yeah, we won 4-2, after 45 minutes of play, because we were terrible. So where are the standards on those? Well, at the Olympic final, if you want to make the Olympic final as 100 meters as a male, you'd better run a 9.9, and it would really help to be even faster than that. If you want to make the finals, if you want to be on the podium as an Olympic lifter at the Olympics, you're going to have to really snatch and clean and jerk a lot of weight. Well, if you want to make it as an American professional football player, you're going to have to be consistently the biggest, fastest, strongest, toughest person in every situation you've probably ever been in your life. If you want to make it in the NBA, it's getting, I used to help with the Jazz, Utah Jazz, and people always say how small John Stockton was, and I'd be like, John Stockton was always the tallest guy in the room, except we went on the NBA, and his hands were freakishly enormous. Just bigger than you would ever think. And he was also really a tough guy. So when we look at a sport like track and field, it's really kind of easy to find numbers. Like I have the triple jump encyclopedia, and that has some. I know that the track and field Omni book, now these numbers are older, but guys like Dave Davis used to poll the athletes and say, how strong are you? At the Olympic Training Center, they'd ask everybody what your lifts are, and they would compile them. Generally, shot putters tend to really be strong in the power lifts and the clean. Discus throwers tend to be pretty good in the snatch, and kind of good numbers throughout everywhere else. Javelin throwers also tend to be good in the snatch for their body weight. Interestingly, European high jumpers and jumpers of all kind are very impressive in the snatch and an array of single leg movements. So I don't want to get too deep into the quadrants. For those of you who are completely lost, here on the channel, I have on my channel, just Google one of my lectures. One of my lectures is on easy strength, and I go into depth on the quadrant. But your question is interesting because, what are the standards? Now, it's interesting, in 2 years, I'll be 70, and, it's kind of fun to look at the Olympic lifting, American records and world records at 70, because you'll notice that, some of the lifts I kind of do in training are now going to be American records when I get to, when I step on the platform. Now, in 2 years, a lot of things can happen at my age, but the standard for a 70-year-old, Olympic lifter at my age and my weight, if you snatch in the mid hundreds and you clean just barely over 200, you're one of the strongest people ever to walk the planet, at least according to our record books. So there's a lot of factors that go in standards. Certainly, it's best, I always argue to my athletes, get as strong as you can as soon as you can, because when I say, the standard for a collegiate football player in America now is usually, generally I could just wave my hand. Usually most schools will give the 3, 4, 5 numbers, 300 clean, 400 bench, 500 squat. But you want to be in a situation when you get to the weight room that a 300, 400, and a 500 are just like, they're givens. A lot of athletes, of course, have to work up to them. A lot of incoming freshmen need some seasoning in the weight room. But once you're a second, third, fourth year athlete in a program like that, those numbers should just be, double shoulder shrug. Yeah, of course you do those. Emil, that was a fun question. When can you tell your player they're strong enough in the weight room? Get the numbers. Take the numbers of where the athlete is and performances of elite athletes. I have numbers that go back to shot putters in the early 1960s. Interesting, one of them, he broke the national record in the shot put, Dallas long, and if I have it right in my mind, his military press was 200 pounds and his bench press was 200 pounds. Now, he got a lot stronger when he went off to USC, I think. But if you military press 200 and you bench press 200, it's conceivable that as a high school shot putter, you should be throwing in the 60s. Now, no high school shot putter in the modern era benches that low anymore, but that military, I can guarantee very few of them can do it. So if you're up to standard and you're not throwing the distances or running the times, your issue is not in the weight room. I hope that helped, and thank you.